There was this one from a couple days ago. Obviously, we had Hurricane Ian here in Florida, and the devastation is still being cleaned up all over Southwest Florida right now. Kamala Harris went for an interview on C-SPAN, and she came out, in essence, I mean, she already was, but she went full racist and full communist.
Can you talk just a little bit about the relief efforts, obviously, of Hurricane Ian and what the administration has been doing to address the climate crisis in the States? And just a little follow-up, because this is important to me. We consider the global implications of emissions, right? The poorest countries are affected the most. They contribute the least and are affected the most. So how should voters in the US feel about the administration's long-term goals when it comes to being an international influencer on this topic?
It is a crisis, as evidenced, as you've mentioned, by Ian, by the wildfires happening in California, the floods, the hurricanes, but also because of America's leadership and what it should be globally on this issue. And so that has happened, and it will propel a lot of good work. The crisis is real and the clock is ticking, and the urgency with which we must act is without any question. And the way that we think of it, and the way I think of it, is both in terms of the human toll, and I know we are all thinking about the families in Florida, in Puerto Rico, with Fiona, and what we need to do to help them in terms of an immediate response and aid, but also what we need to do to help restore communities and build communities back up in a way that they can be resilient, not to mention adapt to these extreme weather conditions, which are part of the future. On the point that you made about disparities, you know, when I was District Attorney of San Francisco, I was elected in 2003. I started one of the first environmental justice units of NEDA's office in the country focused on this issue, and in particular on the disparities, as you have described rightly, which is that it is our lowest income communities and our communities of color that are most impacted by these extreme conditions and impacted by issues that are not of their own making. And so women. Absolutely. And so we have to address this in a way that is about giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. And if we want people to be in an equal place, sometimes we have to take into account those disparities.
What she said there at the end, let's do the communist part first. She wants everyone to end up in the same place. That is not congruent with the American dream. What the American dream says is, hey, we've got equality. And some people start with more, some people start with less. Some people have great gifts, some people don't. Some people come from great families, some people come from broken families. There's the gestalt of life that is just out there. And if we have equal laws for everyone, it might be harder for some people and easier for some, but plenty of people are born rich and end up poor, and plenty of people are born poor and end up rich. It's the chance. You got a chance, man, in the United States. That's what it's all about. The idea that you'd want all people to end up in the same place, no, you wouldn't want all people to end up in the same place. That is what communism is. If you want to see how the media and the political elite lie about everything and how they launder their lies through the system, this is absolutely perfect. So here's a tweet by Andrew Bates. Now, Andrew Bates is the deputy press secretary to the White House. I think he works right under Karine Jean-Pierre. She's the press secretary. He's the deputy press secretary. So he quotes PolitiFact and the New York Times and Reuters, all claiming that she did not say what we just heard her say, that it had something to do with race. PolitiFact, no, Kamala Harris didn't say hurricane relief would be based on skin color. Actually, she did. We just played you guys the video. So he quotes PolitiFact. So PolitiFact is a website that lies. They claim to be a fact-checking site, but they lie because she did say it would be based on skin color. She said communities of color. Then he quotes the New York Times. Conservatives distort Harris's remarks about hurricane relief. So it's, you see those conservatives, they pounced, those mean conservatives. Nobody distorted it. She's the one that said equity should be built in, and she's the one who brought up skin color. Go back to it one more time. And then Reuters deliberately distorted. We played it for you straight up.